Welcome to tonight's Spinal workshop. I'm Dr. Sandy Martin from All Star Family Chiropractic in St. Joe, Michigan. And tonight's workshop topic is the 100-year lifestyle. And believe it or not, more and more people are making it to age 100 by accident. So let's go into this. Like, what age is old?
100.
That's old? Is there an age before that's old?
Not anymore. The older I get, the less it sounds old.
Right. So here's this is very interactive, and I might repeat what you're saying so that they can hear me in the microphone too. I want to create a list. When you think of someone who's 80, 90, 95, 100, how would you describe them?
Lucky.
Ooh, I like that one. What do they commonly look like?
Are we talking people that reach 100 in this country or?
This country. Let's stick with the U.S. That's the only thing I have stats for.
I know like other countries, they live a lot longer than we do because we don't have the best diet.
I'm going right into that. Let's go with, do you know what your life expectancy is as a U.S. citizen?
75.
Probably 75 to 80 maybe.
60.
60.
That's it.
60.
Huh?
60.
Is that why we get to retire at 62? Because the government's going to outlive us?
That's exactly why. And they're trying to push it to 65.
Oh, there I have. Mine's 67.
Yeah. So here's the deal though, more and more people are living into longer and longer because we're making more medications. We're seeing not people live longer, but quality of life is decreasing. When you put the U.S. on a scale and compare it to the other top 11 countries, we score 11 out of 11 as being the worst in 8 out of 10 categories.
That's sad.
Including infant mortality.
Wow.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
We score the worst for life expectancy. We set the bar at 60. And it's hugely different than number 10 and 9 actually too. Like it's plus or give or take 5 to 8 years, I believe. Yeah.
Wow.
So you are already set up for failure as a U.S. citizen. However, I don't like to talk about the negative side of this because we are seeing more and more people live to 100. In fact, I got the honor last night of celebrating my own grandmother's 92nd birthday at Papa Vino's. So I show up to dinner with all my family. She had 4 boys. My dad is one of them. And all my cousins, their kids are there. So 4 generations at the table and 2 of my grandma's friends. And one of them, you might have actually heard her name before because she was on the front page of the Herald Palladium, is Gloria Wieberg. She turned 100 this year.
Wow.
And so I got to have dinner with an actual 100-year-old last night. And so I interviewed Gloria, and I said, Gloria, I'm sure you're asked this question all the time, but what do you contribute your longevity to? And believe it or not, she said, I have a glass of red wine every night.
I knew you were going to say it.
Right? The other thing, though, I mean, if you look into her history of what she did, she was an aerobics instructor, aquatic aerobics instructor on top of that, right?
That's how I know her name.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
that's
she's
right.
and very active. And so if I really look at her personality and why people have the longevity is because of passion.
You bet.
Is you have to recognize that in this life we all have a purpose. And when you find that purpose and live it out, you're going to have that goal to live longer and be happier and healthier. But how many people are just working for the weekend or the next paycheck or the next vacation? And I don't believe life is designed to ever work that way. We're stuck in a corporate America that is making us fat, sick, and stupid and dying at the age of 60.
Was it in that order? Fat, sick, and stupid.
Maybe.
I
Maybe
guess
it's
we'll
sick,
keep it.
stupid, and fat.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
too.
Okay. So if you think of old, most people that think of like, oh my gosh, they're 80, what they are is they're decrepit. They're devolving. They're leaning on a cane or a walker. So
Nursing homes.
crippled. I don't even know if I can spell right. Crippled. They're usually alone, widowed. How many people do you know that are living just on Social Security?
Probably quite a few.
So they're crippled, alone, and broke.
Poor. Yeah.
Broke.
Or poor. I like that better. Broke implies other things too.
Boy, it's looking more and more bleak there, isn't it? On the
Right.
left side.
Right. So here's the question though. I mean, I'm starting to see the young people crippled, alone, and broke too. I mean, the millennials will spend more on coffee than they will on their retirement plan. Because YOLO, Y-O-L-O, you only live once. That's the mentality right now because we get to see our parents just above the baby boomers that their parents, you know, you retire and you sit in a chair, watch golf the rest of the day. That's what I saw my grandpa do, and then died of a heart attack in his 60s, or just went out, you know. People are starting to realize that health doesn't come from a medicine bottle or from a pill.
Or a
You have to-
recliner.
Right. It's not just resting. It's work, but we have to find that balance, right? And we're seeing more and more young people getting thrown right into corporate and even school nowadays. I mean, how much does your backpack weigh?
I use a tablet, so.
That's awesome. Yeah, the majority of the students we have coming in, their backpack weighs between 20 and 40 pounds. And they can't even make it to their locker to drop things off. So they're constantly in this posture. Or carrying it here, half of it in the book bag, and it's not good. It's creating imbalances in the spine, which then the brain and body balance becomes broken down. So here's the ultimate question for tonight to apply all of this to you, because I can't thank you enough for being here right now, because when we give time, we're sacrificing time somewhere else. So I want to make sure that we're going to give you information that you can apply directly. But then here's the ask at the end too, is the information you learn here tonight, don't keep it to yourself. Who else can you apply it to help not make just you a better version of yourself, but help make this community a better version? And I can't do it alone. So think about the other people that you might know that need to know this information and pass it along for me. We'll have this video link up shortly within the next 24 hours, hopefully. Sometimes 2 or 3 days. But I appreciate your time in being here. So I just ask that you have that open mind and the open heart so that you can share and be a better version of yourself. Because the ultimate question to apply this to you is, if you were to live to 100, if we knew right now, we had my crystal ball and I'm like, look, Sally's gonna live to 100. What's she gonna look like? What would you do differently now if you knew you were going to live to 100? And so I've asked patients this all day and yesterday too. I mean, many answers were like, oh, I don't want to live to 100. Because they're thinking of crippled, broken, alone.
Not necessarily lucky.
Right. But dinner with Gloria is still at 100, legally allowed to drive. She chooses not to. Yeah, and she lives alone.
Wow.
The oldest patient I ever had came to me at his like a month before, he was 99, a month before his 100th birthday. He was under care for a whole year. He died 2 weeks before his 101st birthday. And of course I asked him, what do you contribute longevity to? And he says, I've been going to a chiropractor for 40 years. And I got to see him one of those years. Again though, living alone, still legally able to drive. When you make it to that age, and it doesn't have to be 100, let's say 80 is good luck for you and your parents all died younger, because genetics, that's another thing I can break into a tangent on, is your genes count only 30% of your genetic makeup, or your health makeup, I should say. Only 30% of your health quality is related to your genes, which means 70% is about environment. So we get to control what we put into our body. We get to control whether we go to the gym. We get to control our mental ability. So those are the 3 big aspects I'm going into right now. Is if you were to live to 100, what would you want to change now to make sure that you still had your independence at the oldest age that you can possibly reach? That is the power we should be living, not this YOLO mentality. You only live once, where, all right, we're going out for drinks again, and we're doing this again. And I live by the 80-20 rule. 80% good, 20% okay or bad. But it can't be a regular choice day in and day out, where I'm seeing younger and younger people drinking like the Red Bulls, the Monsters, the caffeine all the time. People think coffee, like a pot of coffee, is normal. It's not at all. We should be limiting ourselves to 1 cup a day. Oh, I see all the eye glances in here now. Oh, really? That's not normal? Whoops. So, what do we want, instead of putting young here, instead of what we think of as old, what do we want our next 100 or our new old to look like? What does independence look like?
I'm gonna go right for the brain. I would like to have my faculties, for sure. Brain power,
There's a word I'm looking for, cognitive.
that's it.
What else?
Yeah, physically.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Great posture. Physically, mobile.
Mm-hmm. I guess as physically fit as we can be at that age, you know, we all know we slow down with each.
Well, if you
decade.
remember, one of the stats I share on your second visit here in our office is the spine has the potential to live to 125 years old without any signs of arthritis or degeneration.
Really?
But that would require us to do what from birth?
Chiropractic.
It would not necessarily, but just maintaining it straight.
Oh,
But how many
posture.
times, I'm gonna go get a tool really quick. Sorry, video people.
Gotta get a tool now. Oh, shoot. She's got toys she's bringing out and look at here.
Okay, so, right, and so video people may not be able to see this, but this is the spinal decay chart, right? What we would want to see on a neck x-ray, and this is as if someone is standing right here facing this direction and we're looking at them from the side view, okay? We want to see the neck curve, close to 40 degrees. In fact, there are studies out there that show the closer you have to that 40-degree curve, the longer you're expected to live, and with a higher quality of life.
Then I'm sunk.
There's hope for everyone, Sally. Okay, so here's another thing. Oh, another tangent here. I can go on tangents. When we talk about health, we get into this. So the CDC, February 8th, released new milestones or changing of milestones for children, infants to toddlers. Crawling is no longer a milestone. I'm not okay with that.
No.
Because when we are born, the spine is in the fetal position, a C curve, the whole thing. The only way that this curve gets in here is from crawling and having to look up. That puts less stress on the nerves, because if there's less stress on the nerves when it is curved and it goes straight, what do you think is happening to all those nerves?
Pinching.
Stretching.
Bending, pressure, pinching, pulling. Most people are in phase 1 by the time they're 14 years old and have no pain whatsoever. Now, when I graduated chiropractic college 9 years ago, we used to say most people are in phase 1 by the time they're 26 years old.
Now it's 14.
Now it's 14. At least. I've taken x-rays on a 7-year-old that neck was worse than this.
What do you attribute that to? Right.
Computers.
Of course.
Looking down.
Yeah.
Of course.
Poor posture.
Yep.
This is called text neck. It has a condition. It is in medical dictionaries now.
That's sad.
Yes.
Pretty sad.
But they look at this and they'll say that is normal. That's not normal, that's common. Okay? So, and if there's no pain here, what do we do about it?
Nothing.
Nothing. So the problem gets worse until it's phase 2. Someone in phase 2, you see the vertebrae are starting to jut out or create bone spurs called osteophytes in the anterior and posterior aspect. The disc heights are starting to diminish. This person would be diagnosed with mild arthritis and typically have pain for just 3-4 days at a time. And if we have pain for just a few days at a time, what do we do?
Nothing. Well, we take stuff.
Well, all those answers, right? We might ignore it, think it's gonna go away on its own. We might take over-the-counter medication. We might make it to a medical doctor who then prescribes muscle relaxers or painkillers. But do any of those offer a solution to the problem?
No.
No, so the problem gets worse until it's bone-on-bone degeneration. Someone in phase 3 typically can't turn their head all the way and might have numbness and tingling down their arms and hands. I'm not okay with that. Now, the medical field typically can put an age on some of this stuff, but I just took x-rays of a 22-year-old about an hour ago whose neck is between a 2 and a 3.
Wow. Pain?
That's, not in the neck. Yeah. I'm taking neck x-rays based on what I feel sometimes, and I'm like, this neck is not okay. And I wanted to see what was going on, and it is almost bone on bone at 22 years old. And she gave us no history of injury, whiplash, or anything like that. So we're seeing this just based on the amount of pressure and stress we're putting our own bodies under. And this is crippling our life.
Without really even realizing it.
Yeah, without really realizing it. However, so the 100-year lifestyle comes not just from like my own work, it's actually the work of Dr. Eric Plasker. So there's lots of books. So I've been listening to, I bought the audio version of The Longevity Solution. There's a workbook for the 100-year lifestyle. I'm gonna give you a couple pages out of it. You can find it online, even free. You can download any of their books. They got workbooks, they got several hours-long seminars that are recorded as well. So it's really interesting because he goes on to tell stories about just patience even. I don't have time to share one, but man, like what we're seeing when, this is where I got this, he goes, older people are coming in, broke, crippled, and alone. And then they just go. What is the hope once you get to that point? Well, there is still always hope. What if you're a phase 3 in that spinal degeneration? Change can happen. We can relieve stress off your nervous system. So, no matter where you're at in age, there's always potential for change now. You just have to make the choice that you're worth it. And invest in it. Especially women. Women don't always choose to invest in themselves. They want to take care of everyone else first, and then take care of themselves. But if you were to get on an airplane, it's my favorite topic. If you were to get on an airplane, and they're talking about the cabin pressure dropping, you know, the onboarding process. If the cabin pressure drops, the mask fall, put the mask on who first?
That's
Yourself.
what they say.
Where were you gonna go with
I
that?
would be putting it on everybody else and
Stop
not thinking
it.
about me.
Stop it, stop it, stop it. If you help yourself first, how many more people could you help?
True.
But we're stuck, we feel like the pressure, the anxiety, the chaos, the immediate responses, we're not programmed to take care of ourselves first.
Put it on the pilot.
Right, make sure the pilot got his. I like that one. So we're gonna leave you here today with the 100-year lifestyle assessment where you can figure out with how you're going about your life right now and how you rate it and what your average life expectancy might be. So it'll look like this, and you'll all be leaving home with that today. There's a little math on the next page of that too. And I wanna go over a couple things in this because one of the things that the longevity solution really talks about is thinking about change is easy. Actually creating change is hard. You might even start a new habit, but how long does it take in order to make it an actual habit?
About 3 days.
About 30 days, typically, 28 to 40 days, depending on the research that you're looking at or the type of activity that you're trying to induce. But it's consistency and persistence. How many times have you actually started a new habit, did it for 2-3 months, and then some life happened, you went back into the old ways again? How many times does that happen? It happens day in and day out, but we have to constantly be in conversation and community like these in order to remind ourselves that we are worth the investment for the time and the commitment to be persistent for our own health. Change happens one choice at a time. So if we were to go over the leading causes of death, what would you tell me?
Heart attack.
Cancer?
Heart disease is number 1. Who does heart disease affect more, men or women?
Women.
Women, 1 in 3. Then cancer, specifically lung, but cancers in general. And I've given this so many times and see many different things that the next 4 kind of get altered. Accidents, I think, is number 4. Oh, lower respiratory lung infection, chronic lower respiratory infection. Accidents, stroke, diabetes.
I would have thought that might have been higher, the diabetes.
Diabetes is actually starting to go a little bit lesser and lesser. However, more and more people are affected with it. And about 90,000 a year, Americans only, have prediabetes undiagnosed. Yeah, that's not okay. So here's why I list this out, because choice has to happen one decision at a time, because the majority of all these are preventable. Diabetes is 100% preventable. Accidents are the only ones that really aren't preventable. But some of these other things are, and we know what causes them. But there's no education out there to tell us what it is and isn't we should be doing. In fact, when we keep people sick, fat, and stupid, we're easier to control that way.
Sure.
That is why education is so important in our office. Because when these are preventable, we have to stay in that conversation of choosing to do the right thing. Even if what kind of population do you think the U.S. would be if everyone chose to live by the 80-20 rule that I choose to myself?
Be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
People
But
be in a
I
good
walked
mood.
into Moe's today for lunch. You know, that's something that's not like necessarily fast food and greasy. But I looked around. I just want to see the type of people. every single person in there was obese. Every single person. And even me, I'm considered overweight. And I know,
Well,
right?
there's something wrong with this. Isn't it?
Yeah, and for my height, I'm 15 pounds overweight.
How many?
15.
Well,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So what we are considering as healthy, or lying to the population what is healthy, that it's okay if you're bigger, well, it is. We should accept everyone, because that's what's happening, is people's self-esteems are dropping, and that's not healthy either. But we can't be parading around that being overweight and obese is actually healthy. And that has been on the front cover. I used to do a PowerPoint on this whole thing about just making better choices one decision at a time. The PowerPoint shows the cover of a magazine, a very popular women's magazine, of someone who's obese. She looks magnificent, but right next to it says healthy, the new healthy.
Oh.
And it's not. And just because the medical profession can fit you into a box, oh, your blood levels are good, your oxygen levels are good, does not mean that we are healthy, because especially when it comes to the spine. Let me tell you, no one has ever gained anything positive out of carrying 5 to 10 extra pounds around for their spine and posture. And it leads to chronic pain and conditions. That is where we are losing the most amount of money in the health field, is taking care of chronic problems in the Medicare area. Because those who have heart disease and have already had heart attacks, they actually get the education to eat better, cleaner, and diet and exercise. But how many of them do you think actually do it? A couple studies show less than 20%. Or they might start the habit and then fall off.
And they might say, I never were ever going to do that again. Never going to go through that again.
Right? And there's always the and. The other thing that the 100-year lifestyle also says is approach change with your ideal 100-year lifestyle in mind. That's why I had us make a list. That when you reach your max age, what do you want it to look like? What do you want it to feel like? What do you want to be able to do? When we set the vision for what we are thinking about, we get to change the vibrancies in all our cells to help manifest that.
Could you repeat that?
When
That was a
we
cool sentence.
create the vision of what we want, we change the vibrancies in our cells to help manifest that. We are telling the universe what we want, and when you have the law of attraction on your side,
Which we do.
everyone's capable of it. When you have that law of attraction and you attract, those things become more capable. So the first chapter in the longevity solution book that I'm listening to talks about the law of attraction.
I think I like this book.
Yeah. That's just the first chapter, and it's already could be life-changing and something you apply. So what are attitudes that are attractable? What kind of attitudes are you attracted to?
Positive, positive people.
Positive, fun, energetic.
Motivated.
Happy.
You guys are going so fast. Everyone write it down. I love it. Happy. What are attitudes that people retract from?
Negativity.
Negativity,
Anger.
anger. How many people in pain are happy? No. So if we're overweight and obese and in chronic pain, are we gonna be able to work on our law of attraction in a positive light? It's gonna be really hard. Really, really hard. So we have to start pretty much a lot of this together, being positive to do the right thing for diet, for change, for working out, for taking care of our bodies. Because you can't just change your mindset and then the body, some people are capable of doing it. You might be able to change your body and then the mindset comes, or change your mindset and then the body comes. People are able to work in amazing ways. Your brain is extremely powerful, and it controls the whole body. You know what? If I were to just stand here, I may not look too busy, but on a cellular level, I'm extremely busy. I saw that on a bumper sticker one time.
And it stuck with you.
I'm gonna try that on my boss.
You got like 3 trillion cells in your body that are constantly working and communicating with your brain.
It's true.
And we have control of that. And you've heard the statistic that we only use like 10% of our brain power, right?
If that.
We got to make sure we're using it towards that positive, attractive energy. one of the things, the examples that the book lists about negative energy or retracting is like the controlling people, bossy, which I definitely have been in my lifetime.
No.
What? No one's ever like that, especially when they own their own business.
Jill's being real quiet. Where's Dawn?
So grumpy, angry. The book also goes on about the other example about, okay, so Gloria, going back to Gloria was born in like 22, I think, or 1923. My grandma was born in 1930. And at that age, the life expectancy of a U.S. citizen was only 50.
Oh, so it
So
has increased.
she has
right?
now outlived
Doubled.
her life expectancy by 5 decades.
That's crazy.
But there's these movies. Have you seen Grumpy Old Men?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they
So-
make sequels to
And they
that,
know
too.
they're so good. They make sequels, right? So if, let's say, at that age, if they're only expected to live till 50, yet they're in their 60s and they're in pain and they're sitting and not mobile, there's a reason they're grumpy, right? And then the sequel, they're
Then Aunt
grumpier
Margaret shows
old
up.
men,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Women solve everything at that point.
Exactly.
So we have choices. You know, we can make this fun. We make it attractable because the law of attraction and just studying that and manifesting what we want out of life could be the number one thing I hope you take away from this. But you got to choose one decision at a time what you want to work on. I don't want this seminar to overwhelm anyone because there's a lot of great ideas. We didn't even go into the what or the how, but was sticking to the why.
You can make a vision board.
We
That
talked
helps a
about that,
lot.
didn't we?
Yes, it
Making
helps
a huge
lot.
vision board. And so like I have a vision board. It's a 4x5 foot thing in my bedroom, yeah.
Big one.
But on it are like trips.
Mhm.
I haven't put health on there yet.
I
I'm
do.
definitely gonna put, it's been on there before, but yeah. I think I wanna do that now. What we want for our parents even. What we want for our grandkids. Because more and more people are making it to age 100 by accident and becoming dependents for their kids.
True.
And that's the part I'm not okay with. We should be independent as long as possible for everything in our control. And I remember being mad at a parent and saying, you're not eating right. And if you have a heart attack, I'm not gonna go visit you in the hospital because you brought this on yourself. That's how angry I would get at my parents over the decisions that they were making.
Did anything change because of your remark?
Not because of me.
Okay.
5 years later, the doctor said something and major changes happened.
And
It's
now she's
hardest.
Dr. Sandy, but it doesn't.
And
say
it
that.
doesn't, and family doesn't matter. It is hardest to
It's just-
listen to your family.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll always be that little 4-year-old girl in pigtails to them.
Yeah.
It is hardest when it comes to family. And so that's why I've adapted All-Star Family, right? Thank you for listening to me, by the way. But I really hope, like that's my hope and prayer for all of you, is that you just take one little piece and apply it. Because, and well, here's another that's going to a little bit of a how of like, if we have a negative thought, because they happen. I mean, it snowed yesterday. I was thinking curse words all the way here.
Amen.
April 18th and there's snow. Oh. So I was,
It
you
was
know.
pretty though, I have to say.
It was.
It was
See,
pretty.
there's a silver lining
Yeah, it
about
was
just
beautiful.
calming down in the moment.
Mhm.
This is beautiful.
We
It's
know it's
only gonna
going.
last to noon.
Yeah.
I love snow. Just even hearing yourself say it out loud sparks the way our energy changes. Spreading that love. So you can't just say, all right, go away negative thought. You have to replace it with a positive thought. And so when we start that law of attraction, our whole body and our demeanor and making choices becomes easier. Way easier. And so we have a lot of tools. In fact, when we go into Calm Mama for our next spinal workshop, it is May 2nd, if that's a Tuesday night, right before Mother's Day. We're gonna be talking about tools in how to like journal, how to be calm, how to take these tactics and apply them to real life, especially in the midst of chaos and raising a family or job or both. Everything is put on individuals these days.
It's called Calm Mama.
That's what I call it. Yeah, we're making an essential oil blend. That's
Carrie
only
needs
$8. You get a roller ball, and we're gonna
Carrie
be
needs
using
this.
clary sage and wild orange.
Hmm.
Yep, and so just scents help us ground.
Mhm.
Journaling help us ground, feel connected. Being in community, this class helps us be grounded and reminded of what we are capable of. And this whole COVID world has been designed to isolate us. And we're seeing more and more depression, more and more suicides, more and more people on Prozac, Zoloft, you name it.
You bet.
I don't wanna live in that world.
No.
That's why I'm here, taking time away from my family to speak up, even if it's to a few. Cause it's important to me that we start manifesting a positive world that makes changes for their own health and their own life. So it's not put on their kids to take care of them. We all have to take care of each other now. And if not now, then when? And if not you, then who? Not to be so heavy on them. It's a big burden. One decision at a time is all it takes. But thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate all of you. See you at the next one.
Very good.
I'd love to add a little something now
Yeah.
that she's turning this off. I made